This last weekend, a man whose body was abused for 128 years was finally laid to rest. Of course, I'm talking about Stoneman Willie. This is weird for me because when I was younger, I loved to just, shout my mouth off and say things and try and start conversations, rile people up. That was just my thing. And as I grew up, I realized I don't want to do that. But there comes a time where you realize, okay, I actually want to give good opinions. I want to share an opinion that I think is maybe in the minority and needs to be heard more than just the common thought. And I'm also someone that likes to be positive. I don't like to bring negativity into these videos, which is why I usually don't. I'll say something, I'll give my opinion, and then I'll move on from it. But this is a video that I've wanted to make for the last 6 months to a year, and I really didn't have the confidence to do it. But with them just burying Stoneman Willie over the weekend, it was finally just like, okay, I've been seeing stuff for the last 2 weeks leading up to this, and now I saw this, and now I'm just like, I'm at the peak level of disgust, and I need to talk about it. So in 1895, Stoneman Willie is going around Reading, Pennsylvania. There's a firemen's convention there, and he's not the best guy around. I'm not going to sugarcoat that for you. He was a bit of a drunk. He liked to mess around with people. He liked to steal things. He was a thief. And that's, one night in 1895, that's what he got arrested for. He had broken into a woman's house, and he was rummaging through some drawers trying to steal some stuff, and he got arrested. Now, he gave them a fake name when he got to the Berks County Prison, and there was nothing they could really do about it. There was no database, fingerprint, blood, anything like that, and they just sort of had to deal with that. Unfortunately, while he was in the prison, he actually died from kidney failure for a multitude of reasons. But before he died, he did admit that he gave a fake name. And that was super helpful because, at least they knew what they weren't looking for. But they still didn't have a regular name, and they needed to find the next of kin because he was dead now, and they needed to tell the next of kin, hey, listen, this loved one is gone now. Here, come and collect the body. What would you like us to do with it? How would you like us to handle the remains? Trying to be as respectful as possible. The body went to the funeral home, and I think this is sort of the right thing for the time. This sort of makes sense. There wasn't really deep freezers that they could put bodies in to keep them from decomposing. So what they did was they super embalmed the body. It was a bit more of an experimental way of embalming than I would have preferred, but they super embalmed him, and he was essentially mummified from that point on. And they did that so they could find the relatives and let them know. It would give them enough time, 6 months to a year, while they sort of kept the body there. And if that's where the story ended, they waited a year, they couldn't find a body, and they put the body into the ground, or they put it into a mausoleum or something, that would have been fine. But that's not where the story ends. And this is where I think personally my strong opinion comes out, that I think it's one of the most disgraceful and disgusting things that Reading, Pennsylvania has ever done. And this isn't just the funeral home that did this. This is the people that ran experiments. This is people that came to look at it. This is people that pretended that it wasn't a problem, or are still here watching this video, which I know it's a controversial opinion, but they're watching this video and they're going, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I'm here to tell you there's absolutely something wrong with it for what they did, and I'll get to that in a second. Essentially what they did for 128 years is they put him on display. They put Stoneman Willie on display, and anyone that wanted to come by and look at him could come by and look at him. In fact, they even brought school field trips. The kids, they'd line them up, and everybody would come by and see Stoneman Willie. And what's worse is some of the kids they found later would drop coins into his open mouth because he's mummified. And that's what we did. And we did that not just for 1 year or 2 years. We did it over and over and over again for 128 years. Now, mummification isn't something that I think is wrong. I think there's nothing wrong with it. I think that's the way that they did it back in the old days of Egypt. I think they might still do it sometimes right now, but that's how they would do it back in the old days of Egypt. There was a religious method behind it. They felt that that was the way that they could pass on to their afterlife. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But we mummified a guy so that we could preserve his body, and then we kept him on display for 128 years? Why? What was the point of that? The only point that I could possibly see is that some people thought it was cool, and then the tradition just kept up. Everybody wanted to see him. Oh, you know, so-and-so down the street saw him. I want to see him now too. So we just kept doing it and doing it and doing it until, guess what? We decided that it wasn't a problem. It's still a problem. I can sit here and admit to you that I can both think it's cool and disgusting. I can both think, wow, this is a mummified guy. I'd be interested in seeing it. But the fact of the matter is, it's a human being. And you can forget that so easily. And what am I supposed to do? Just say, oh, well, he's not really there anymore. I mean, and that's the argument I get so many times is, oh, well, his body's not really there. His spirit is somewhere else. I get it. I get that completely, you know, with my faith, I get it. But this isn't a religious conversation. This is just plain wrong. You took a body and you messed with it. I mean, there are laws against that where you shouldn't abuse a body. I mean, you put him on display. I just don't get it. So there's so many people, and I know I'm going to have a controversial opinion with this, but there are so many people that say he's a part of our history. And guess what? Yeah, he is a part of our history. He's a bad part of Reading's history. You abused a man's body for 128 years. Like, what do you want me to do about that? Like, you want me to just say, oh, it's no problem. And now, you know, they finally buried him, and I'm so happy about that. They still write Stoneman Willie. They've finally revealed his name, his actual name. They figured it out somehow, which I'm not super sold on. But if they say they did, whatever. They put it in small words on his tombstone, and Stoneman Willie in the giant words. It's more about the spectacle and the tradition and the memory than it is about this guy's body. That's disgusting to me. And they did a whole parade, you know. It was a big casket and everything, and I mean, it looked like JFK's funeral. And it's just, I'm not saying the guy didn't deserve a burial. Of course he deserved a burial. He deserved a burial 128 years ago. He didn't need it right this second. He didn't need it right now. He needed it back then. And anyone should have been an advocate for him. But so many people weren't. And so many people are here right now, and I'll get comments that are negative, and it's fine. Everybody gets their opinion. But that it's like, oh, well, you don't know what it means to me. You know, I was able to learn from that. I get that. I get that completely, 100%. We look at bodies that are donated to science, and we look at them and we understand how to move forward. We understand how to heal. We understand how to make new medicines. There's so much knowledge that can be learned. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that nothing can be learned from a dead body, but they have to be given on their own. We can't go back to the 1900s and start robbing graves and saying this is the only way that we could possibly find out. It doesn't make any sense to me. And something like this would not happen today, of course, because we have ways of preserving the bodies extra long. We don't need to mummify a body in order to keep it, but it's just disgraceful. You know, I saw a bunch of pictures over the last couple of weeks because it was like, hey, come see him for the last time because he's going to be buried. And there's just like a whole bunch of pictures of people standing in front like, it's a human being. Can you not be this kind of guy right now? I think I do think what happened to this man is vital, and I do think it's important, and I think it's a part of the history of Reading. But a lot of people hold it as this like awesome time, but I think it's one of the darkest things that Reading, Pennsylvania has ever allowed. And it wasn't just the funeral home that allowed it. You know, it was anybody that's a politician right now in Reading, they went as a kid. I know so many of my family members that went as a kid, you know, and we're all responsible for it. And it's a shame, and I'm glad he's finally buried, but it's just the real reason I'm making this video is because I don't want people to go forward in time and misremember it, because it was disgusting and it should have never happened. We should have never abused the body like this. And I hope we can have a newfound respect. The spirit may be somewhere else. Just respect the body. That's all. It was a human being. Just respect it. Like I said, I normally don't make videos like this, but you know, I think this was important to make because there are other videos of Stoneman Willie out there. I think they don't share their opinions. I think they give some facts, and some of them are sort of ridiculous. Some of the factuals about it, or the way that it's spun, and I just wanted to give my opinion and put it out there. I don't think it's going to be very popular, because I know a lot of people that were born and raised in Reading, Pennsylvania, that they would find offense to that I was saying Reading did something so horrible. You did, you know. There's nothing you can do. You can't take back the time. It's just it's the way it is. But please like and subscribe, comment down below where I should go next. I love traveling places if this is the first time you're watching a video. Rest in peace, Stoneman Willie. Nobody can mess with you ever again. I hope they leave you buried. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.